Hello guys, how are you? And welcome back again to the Kenyan Anarchist. And as usual, I'm your host, the Grandmaster. And today in the house, we want one and only Erick Munala. Erick Munala is a Pan-Africanist, a youth leader, and former alumni of Kenyatta University. So without further ado, I'm going to give him the stage and to introduce himself to us, talk to us about his experience as a youth leader and who he is in details. So who is Erick Munala?
Thank you so much. As you have been told, Erick Munala is a Pan-African leader. He is a youth leader, an alumni of Kenyatta University, as you have been told. This is a youth champion, and I'm very happy to be invited by the Grandmaster today in this studio so that we can have a very objective and constructive discussion about the position of youth in governance, politics, and in many spheres in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, an incoming Professor Munala. And today we are going to have you answer some of the toughest questions that have been posed by youths in this country. And without further ado, we are going to jump to the first question that is disturbing many youth in this country. And this is, given the significance of youth mobilization towards the Finance Bill 2024 and even 2025, what specific actions are you taking to ensure that the government not only hears but genuinely responds to youth demand beyond symbolic gestures?
Thank you so much. As you are aware, last year, as you have said, there were some storm of Gen Z that made the president to put aside the finance bill, that the youth were not, they saw it as not as friendly. And so as the youth leader this year 2025, you can see they have read the budget, and it means the next thing they're going to do is to have a finance bill in the parliament. And as the youth of this country, what we have done and what we are suggesting to be done is that there should be a very, very, what I can term as involvement of youth, full involvement of the youth when they are making that finance bill, so that we can discuss and put our ideas in that finance bill. Because you can see last time, the thing that caused the problem was there were punitive taxes that were included in that finance bill. And as a youth, we have met and we have suggested that let there be fully public participation and let the youth be in that table of discussion when they are making that finance bill, so that at least we can see, are they putting there something that will help the youth? Because youth have suffered so much in the previous government, where things are made that are involving youth, but it is the old people who are making for the youth, which should not be the way. So that is the measures we have put in place, and as youth we are saying that they should heed to that. If they will not heed to that, things will remain the same, and youth will still come out and call out the government. And we don't want to paralyze the country, because we want to move on, but we should move on as a team. Because as a government, it involves both the old, the young ones, the mothers, the fathers, and everybody should be brought in a board when they are making decisions. Because most of the time they leave out the youth. And now when they are leaving out the youth, you get matters that involve you. Those who are deciding for them in that table, they are the old people. So this time, we are saying that in that table of discussion, or in that table where they are making that finance bill, let the real youth be there. Because it is a matter that involves the youth. It is matters that affect the youth. Because if you start taxing youth, most of the youth are unemployed. Where will they get the taxes? But when they are in that table of discussion, they'll give suggestions on how you get the taxes and how they'll be covered in that budget.
Thank you so much. Once again, I want to remind you that Erick Munala is a chief Pan-Africanist and a youth leader. And our second question for Mr. Erick Munala is, with the high youth unemployment, I estimate that the rate is about 12% in 2024 estimates. Do you believe that the current economic policies that are being created will create opportunity for younger people and help push forward the harsh culture?
Now, the policies that have been put in place when it comes to the youth employment, the way you have just said, some of the policies the youth agree with them, and some of the policies the youth doesn't agree with them at all. You know, we as the youth, you want employment that is permanent, employment that will help us fulfill our dreams. The youth have been suffering. They have given these temporary jobs. Now, if you give a youth a job that pays 500 bob a day, and you say you have employed youth, that is not the case. Why? Because 500 with this economy, a youth will spend that day, that 500, that day only.
Absolutely.
So it means now the youth is working hand to mouth, and you are saying you have employed this youth, and yet this youth has an ambition. So that issue of unemployment, it is a very big challenge. And as a youth, we are trying to say, let the government bring us to the table. We will tell them maybe we can suggest ways and policies that will help youth
Absolutely.
at least acquire some
what are some of the practical steps that you have taken to ensure that maybe that the government is listening to the youth and eradicating the unemployment crisis? What are some of the actionable steps that you have taken as a youth leader to ensure that the government is listening to the youth concern and helping in eradicating the unemployment crisis?
Okay, one of the steps we have done is that most of the time the government has called conferences where we have the empowerment of youth program, and we have gone there. Usually we don't fail, we usually go there and we give suggestions on what should be done and what the youth does want. You see, the government will tell us that we are having a kazi mtaani, or we are having the housing project, which is not a bad idea. But you see, these are temporary jobs. For example, you are building a house and you are paying me daily that 500 or 1,000. Now,
absolutely,
what will be my end? What will be my fate when the building has been completed? The construction of the building has been
really concerning.
Has been completed. Does it mean that now I remain unemployed? And you are saying you are employed as? Okay, some of the suggestions you have said that, you see, the retirement age, when you put the retirement age at 60,
absolutely,
it means somebody will take some time to do what? To retire. And you see, the way the economy is growing, it's growing very fast. And the rate of unemployment is also growing very fast.
Definitely.
So it means to solve such a case, reduce the age of what? Retirement, maybe to about 50 or 55. Because according to the working, you get at that age, somebody will not deliver effectively. Because old age also affects service delivery. But you take these young ones who are now have conversant knowledge with modern technology and whatever entails, they will deliver it perfectly. So we have suggested that policy that they look at the age retirement, because you can see even in some institutions the age retirement is even 70.
Yes.
Now you wonder if somebody has to retire at 70. Now when will this youth get employment?
That's really concerning. But let me ask you now that the use of technology and social media has been areas central to the youth protests. So how do you balance between the responsible use of digital platform and social media and the potential for surveillance and manipulation? Because like, if you realize that the content of the Finance 2025, one of them was purchasing of malware for surveillance. I think that's concerning. So tell me about your efforts on this.
Thank you so much, Grandmaster. That is a very good question. And it's a question of concern. Because actually, all these problems that came out because of the finance bill, the main platform was the social media. Why social media? That is the question we should be asking ourselves. Why social media?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is social media because, you see, if you deny this youth a platform where they can put their plea and their suggestion, of course, with the new technology and the digital world, we'll create our own platform where we can discuss our matters and resolve on what we should do. You saw the last time, that is the Finance Bill 2024, the one you have just mentioned.
Yes, absolutely.
Why did we meet the president for discussion? Did we meet in a social hall? No, it was in X. Why? The youth refused to go for that is in a social hall or somewhere, just because usually you'll get that those who are planning that event,
Yes.
they will call those who are supporting them.
But
They
now,
will say, let's.
but now, how do you balance the surveillance? How do you solve the surveillance situation?
The surveillance situation in terms of
The government uses social media
yeah,
to surveil people. Even like look at the situation
yeah,
of current rise of police brutality,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which is also related to the very surveillance, right?
yes,
Because the police say that the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, in collusion with Safaricom and Communication Authority of Kenya, tracked and killed Albert Ojwang. So how are you balancing the police brutality that has been seen in the protest and ensuring that you protect the constitutional right of young people and their safety?
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'll answer the first question about civilian, and then I'll talk about I answer about the police brutality. Now, we are not concerned about the surveillance of the government. As long as we are within the law, and whatever we are demanding in the social media or whichever platform we are using is our right. And we are
Let me ask you, do you know that the freedom of secrecy is a fundamental right, and the government should not inflict or be able to take away the freedom of privacy? How are you going to protect privacy of youth and prevent the government from doing illegal things such as accessing personal details?
Now, with that, I think we have moved to court and we have taken some time, even court orders, restricting the government from doing so, because by doing like that, they are not within the law. Not unless they have orders from the courts that maybe they are suspecting that somebody who is sharing information that is not supposed to be consumed by the citizen of this country. But as long as whatever is being shared in the social media does not contradict any copyright or does not go against the speech of that is the right of expression, then I don't see the reason why they should be doing so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but though contrary to that, they have been doing that, and as a youth, we are also coming with ways on how to cope with that.
And on police brutality, what do you say?
Now, to do with the police brutality, we are very sorry of whatever happened to our fellow youth from
Albert
Ojwang, which should not be the case. As youth, we have always stand youth for youth.
Yes,
and as a Pan-African, we don't, even our constitution doesn't allow anybody to be killed. Nobody has a right to kill another person. It is in our constitution. And even apart from our constitution, what does the Bible say about death? Does it give permission for anybody to kill?
No. It doesn't.
So, with the police brutality, we are saying that whatever happened, the government should take immediate action, and those who did that should be brought into books. You want justice to be done to that family. Although they cannot bring the life of that young man back, but at least let justice be served. Because if you not handle that case, such a thing will continue happening and will continue losing our fellow youth. These are our future leaders. These are visionaries. These are our dreams that are being killed. So we don't support police brutality, and you want the government. We have suggested measures and policies that should be taken. And one of the measures we are saying that let the police be trained very well, because the problem comes when a police is not trained very well, he doesn't know even the law that condemns about arrest. You have seen some of the youths are being arrested without warrant.
Yes, absolutely.
And what does the Constitution say?
Arrest without warrant is illegal.
It should be with a warrant. Let you come and tell me what have I done before you take me to where? To a police station. But some of them, they're just arresting. Okay, when it comes to stealing.
Yes. Like the guy was tortured in Karura forest. Is it legal to torture someone in a forest?
With that, I don't have evidence about it, and I don't think I have knowledge about it.
According to the Star newspaper, Albert Ojwang was tortured in Karura forest, and he was tortured in the presence of a senior police officer and his driver. But then this is not a confirmed thing, but many people in social media have now linked the torture of Albert Ojwang to the DIG or Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat and his driver. So I think if it really happened, the allegations, then how are you going to hold leaders like Eliud Lagat accountable and everybody who tortured Albert Ojwang in Karura forest?
Okay, thank you.
Is it legal to take someone to Karura forest instead of police station?
Now, you have asked a question that is of concern.
Yes.
But now, just look at your wording. That is allegation.
Yes.
So something that is allegation, talk about it becomes somehow very difficult because we as Pan-African, we want like the way you have just said. Okay, give me time first.
Yes.
Just the way you have just said that it is the Standard paper that did what. That road that maybe Karura forest being used. It is alleged. Let me don't misquote me. It is alleged.
Yes, by a very reputable news source, because Star is one of the most reputable. In fact, the official for the government publications, right?
Yes.
So something that is being published by the Star is almost the truth. And some people were also alleging that it might have been the government trying to put out facts through the National Intelligence Service. And that's why it was specifically Star, which is known to be government publications, related to government publication, was picked to publish the idea that the police tortured in Karura forest.
Okay, the function of our media is informing, which I agree with that the Star or the Standard did what? Inform.
Yes.
But now, we have what we call independent bodies.
Yes.
And the independent bodies, each of them has a task to do what? To perform.
Yes.
So maybe if the Standard paper got that report from the DCI or it got it from the ESCC or the
National
or the National Police Service, then we can say that is a verified what? Information. Maybe in that Standard paper, if you read it very well, if there's somewhere they quoted that this is the person who did what?
Yes.
Who said this and this, then we can look into that and say this and this happened, and even it's quoted in the Standard paper. But you see, a Standard paper sometimes they also write their views and their opinions on what they're maybe hearing from the people or what they're hearing from the government, because the work of a media is to report from whichever side information they do what they get, as long as at least they ensure that the information can be verified.
Okay. Yeah. But then if you look at what is happening, corruption remains a significant concern for the Kenyan youth.
Yeah.
In fact, in many situations, Albert Ojwang was arrested because he was trying to expose some people because of corruption. In one of the posts that the DCI have revealed, this is an official record from DCI, Albert Ojwang posted the picture of DIG and Joshua Rogan, one of the prominent police officers in the country, and accused them of corruption and meddling in affairs of the police and intelligence to enrich himself, calling him the richest cop. I think you heard of that, right?
Yeah, I heard of it.
From that. And also in one of the situations, Albert alleged a case of corruption where Deputy Inspector General Mr. Eliud Lagat purchased $2.6 million Dubai hotel.
Yeah.
You're part of that, right?
I heard of it.
Yeah, using
Mozzarella.
misappropriated and corruption money. And yet corruption remains one of the key concerns of the youth. Trying to expose it might also put you under risk, like Albert Ojwang, you understand that. So what are the concrete strategies are you implementing or advocating to combat corruption and ensure that resources are used for the benefit of the public and especially the youth?
Thank you so much. And you have a good question, but let me correct first before answering your question.
Yes.
Okay, it was not Albert.
Yes.
Who hid that information.
Yes.
Albert was killed because of retweeting what somebody else said.
Yes.
Exposed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the only mistake he did that brought him all these problems was to retweet. Absolutely. And in that retweet, whatever you have said is correct, that there was allegation of what? Corruption.
Yes.
I cannot confirm if the DIG is corrupt or not.
Yes.
Because
but you have to condemn that killing is really not a good thing.
Yeah, killing is not nobody is justified to kill, and yes, even our law doesn't allow that. And we are very sorry even for the family of Albert Ojwang, because that was the breadwinner, and even the parents had invested so much in him. At least to make the family maybe that. Okay, in other words, what I'm trying to say, he was the future of that family.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he was the future of that family. So, by killing him, it's like you have killed the future of many in that family, in the community. And we as a youth, we also lost a fellow youth who was a good soldier.
Absolutely.
Whom we can fight this war of corruption together. Now, back to your question. That was just by the way, because you had asked about... you had mentioned about what killed him. But now when you come to this country, corruption is the main thing.
Yes, absolutely.
It is the main problem. And that's what the youth are trying to fight for. And that's why you see anybody trying to fight that corruption, the police are after him. They are using independent body to look for that person, which should not be the case. And you have asked, what are some of the policies we are advocating for so that at least we reduce this thing of corruption? Because now, let me tell you the truth.
Yes.
You cannot finish corruption completely.
What can we do then?
You can just try and bring policies that can reduce corruption.
But then, if you look at what has been happening, youth have always have a now collective power, especially with the right of Gen Z.
Yes.
But because now that protest has always been their means of demonstrating this power, and we have seen that each and every time anything that is causing public dissent happens, then the youth always demonstrate this by protesting. But this is not sustainable, because if we are looking at the latest protest, it was related to Albert Ojwang, right?
Yes.
And if you look at the demands of the youth, they were saying that the DIG, that is Eliud Lagat, should resign for his central role in the torture and murder of Albert Ojwang. But you know, this is not really sustainable. So I want you to tell me, as the youth leader, that especially with the 2027 elections coming up, how can youth mobilize this newfound collective power into sustained political influence?
Okay, thank you. You have asked several questions in one statement, but I'm going to answer them one by one.
Yes.
So the first thing you have said is about why is it that youth always use protest as a way of communication?
Yes.
That whenever there is a problem, it has forced us to go into the streets. Why? That is the only language the government listens. We have tried many times to try and negotiate with them. Now let me ask you, Grandmaster, for example.
Yes.
If it were not protest last year,
yes,
could the finance bill have been withdrawn?
No.
Why?
Because the government was ready to push it forward and let it be passed into law.
That's why we had what? Protest. We had to call for demonstration, which is allowed in the constitution, that sometime when you are not satisfied, demonstration and protest and picketing is done what? Is allowed with our constitution. So we realize that after using all avenues and whichever anything we want so that the government can listen to us, even in the public participation, I think we followed the public participation because it was aired all over the media.
Absolutely.
But what happened? You saw majority in that public participation, especially the youth who were talking, they were against that finance bill. But what did the government do? They went ahead and did what? Implemented it. Meaning, the youth were wasting their time going to those public participation because their views and their opinions were not done what? Captured. That's why the youth were forced to go into protest. And we really supported that. Because you can see, after the finance bill was withdrawn, that's when the Gen Z now did what? Withdrew back. Because they were worried with the state of the economy now. And they increased taxes. And those taxes were punitive. First of all, a youth is unemployed and you want to tax this youth. Now, how will he acquire basic needs? Leave alone the other things, the dreams you want to fulfill. Youth also want to drive cars.
Absolutely.
And youth also want to build good houses. But they don't have that money. Now, the little they have, the government want to take it as a attack. That's why they hate to go to the streets. If that is the only language the government could do what? Listen. Now, as a Pan-African youth leader,
yes.
Okay, we are sorry for what happened because at that time also there was a destruction of property because usually some groups also take that one as an advantage. Yes. But we are trying to come up with a way in that whenever we have solidarity about something, we want to avoid this thing of infiltration of goons because it's the goon that usually makes the cause or the fight now seem to be a criminal fight. So we are trying to work on that. Now, what was your last question? I think I've answered that statement had 3 questions and I've answered 2.
Yes, I think you have really exhausted the what was really needed of question.
Yeah.
And then because of time, we are going to proceed to the next question.
Yeah.
That there's perception that some older political leaders in the country always dismisses the concerns of the youth, especially during the movement, as either misguided or unreasonable. How do you respond to such sentiments? And what message do you have for leaders who may underestimate the power and the intelligence of the youth in this country?
Thank you so much, Grandmaster.
Absolutely.
Okay, they used to dismiss it like that.
Yes.
But nowadays, they have realized youth are waking up. And youth are ready to take up the leadership of this country. Because it is these old people who have been denying us the opportunity even to air our opinions and ideas. Sometimes you want to be a leader, they tell you are too young. Too young for what?
To be a leader.
What do you mean by too young? Is there anybody who is too young to lead?
No.
Even in the Bible, the young ones used to lead. It is not about age. It is about the dreams, the vision, and the ambition one is carrying for this nation. Even these young leaders, they can do a very good job. They can deliver good services to the people of this country. We have seen several who got leadership posts and positions in the government, doing it exemplary, very good. So the old ones have been telling us every time that no, you are the leaders of tomorrow, you are the future leaders. Now, when will that future reach? Even if some of them, they are very old, in 80s, they are calling themselves youth leader. So if somebody is a youth leader at the age of 80, when will he relinquish that power so that youth now can take over? So we are saying it is our time. Not yesterday and not tomorrow, it is today. So we are the leaders of today. That's what I want to encourage my fellow youth as a Pan-African. That we are the youth of today and not the youth of tomorrow. Those things we want, the ambition we are carrying, let them fulfill them. Let us fulfill them today. You know what, Grandmaster?
Yes, tell me.
If we get reluctant and we leave this nation to these old people and they fail and our age is moving, our generation, our grandchildren will blame us that we are the one who failed this country.
Absolutely.
We are the one who failed their generation. So we should at least make sure that the leadership of this country, even the young people, are in that power.
Absolutely.
In the table of discussion of power, let there the youth, be it in the Ministry of Education, be it in the Ministry of Health, be it in the Ministry of Defense, let our youth be there, close to power, so that the ideas of youth are captured in the table of negotiation and discussion, so that at least we make the next generation proud of us. Otherwise, the next generation will be laughing at us as a failed generation.
Absolutely.
A generation that failed to bring the leadership they wanted.
Absolutely. So, my second last question is that if you look at what is happening, the cost of living is over the roof, and everybody is crying that the prices should go down a little bit. Youth-led revelations might be just the game changer for this. So, what radical youth-led solutions do you propose to alleviate this economic pressure and challenge the existing government frameworks?
Yes, when it comes to economic and just the way you have asked that question, and the economy is not that good, but what are some of the recommendations or some of the ideas we have as youth so that at least we can save this country from this economic crisis? Now, we have always said that the problem that is bringing our economy down, one is corruption. If the government can be able to use all means that is possible, of which it is possible, to fight corruption, it will have reduced the amount of money, the amount of finance we lose through corruption. Number two, we have what we call expenditure. Now, why should you sponsor more than 10 people or 10 leaders that are going to attend a conference in US? You see, that is overspending that money. That money could be used in a Ministry of Health or Ministry of what? Education.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So expenditure. Again, when it comes to salary, we have always said, why should we employ many people in a, let's say, for example, let me use the example that happened recently.
Yes, absolutely.
You are a leader. Why should you have 10 advisors paying them salaries?
That's extravagant.
And you are paying them very huge salaries.
Extravagant for it.
Those are some of the strategies that we can use to at least make our economy do what? Grow. Whereby you avoid useless expenditure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Even when you are paying workers, avoid paying workers that only you need one worker to implement this one, and you're employing too much workers or too many workers in that case to do that work. You see, whatever you are spending is too large that could have been used maybe to revive our economy. So that is one of the strategies. So number one, you should at least fight corruption, and number two, you should avoid unnecessary expenditure, and number three, you should look at the wage bill of salaries. I wonder, why should, like in counties, why should we have a women rep?
Absolutely. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. What is the work of a women rep? Because I've never understood it. I've never understood the role of a women rep. Most of them, they are doing empowerment. And you see the government already is doing again an empowerment program. So why should we have two different people doing the same thing and being paid the Kenyan what? Salary, which comes from the taxes that people collect? Such amount could be used in improving our economy, building our hospitals, improving our roads.
And then lastly, with the increased global attention in East Africa, can you really explain how Kenya can leverage this growing international attention to amplify their voices and push for change, and at the same time not being seen as global puppet?
Thank you so much. You have asked a very good question. It is a question that is affecting, just way I've just mentioned East Africa. The something that is affecting our East African countries, that is Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and others that are within our East African bloc. You see, the reason why you have that thing of borrowing that has led to a very huge public debt, especially in our country, Kenya, is because of what I've just mentioned a few minutes ago. You see, if you're having a huge salary bill,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're supposed to pay your workers large amounts. And again, there is corruption. It means people are taking money and they're not releasing it. You'll be forced to go and borrow, maybe from the global. Now, when we are borrowing, what is happening to the public debt of that country?
You are increasing the budget deficit.
Yeah, the budget deficit. But at the same time, as you are reducing the budget, you are raising your debt that you are owing other countries. So to do that, we should have what we call self-dependence, whereby we are using our own resources. For example, in Kenya, we have more resources that we can get revenue from it. Now, using that one, it means when you go outside, maybe if you have a budget of 5 trillion, maybe whatever you go and borrow, it will be very little. But you see, when we waste our resources, at the end, we'll have to go outside and do what? And borrow. Now, if you are a leader of a country and you have such a resources,
yes, absolutely,
like industry. Now, don't advocate for collapse of industry, because you see, if industries collapse, now it means our raw materials will take them outside. Now, it is the outside countries that will benefit, and yet your country will not benefit. And yet that resources could have been used within, and it will generate income that can use to solve many issues that is affecting the country, like the youth unemployment. You have money, you employ youth and pay them. But now every time you don't have, you are producing coffee, but you don't have a coffee factory. It means you have to export that coffee outside. Now when you're exporting outside, it means you are denying this youth some jobs, you are denying your country money. So what we are advocating in East Africa is that let's have self-reliance or self-dependence, in that those leaders we have, let them come with the policies to implement that will make us, that the resources we have in this country, we just use it within. Or even if they are going outside, let them go outside, but they should bring more revenue. Because you see, when you are exporting raw material, now when you are buying that product, you will buy expensive. Now it means, like, those who are benefiting from that resource, the one that you are importing from, and yet that raw material, it came from us. So one of the policies, I think, if we implement that, it will help us solve that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Erick Munala. Erick Munala is a political professor and a senior youth leader and Pan-Africanist. It's very good that we had time today in his busy schedule to share about his experience and his expertise in politics, governance, and issues of the youth. Until next time, guys, my name is the Grandmaster. Thank you.